So it's been nearly 5 months since I last did a video sharing people's success stories of how they achieved financial independence. And so the first video that I made, linked above, was a video where I just shared everyday people's experiences and the journey that they took to financial independence. I really enjoyed making that video, but more than that, I really enjoyed hearing these people's stories and their advice that they give to people who are on their journey to financial independence. So you're in for a treat, because today I will be sharing stories of 2 different women in the UK who have reached financial independence, and I'll be sharing some of the tips that they shared with me on their journeys, and I think you'll really enjoy this video. So do let me know in the comments down below what you think, what your thoughts are, and if you're not familiar with the financial independence retire early movement, which is also known as f.i.r.e, then I have a whole series, 4-part series linked above, that you can check out to learn a bit more about f.i.r.e and the concept behind reaching financial independence and having the option to retire early. But just as a disclaimer, I will be keeping both of these ladies' identities anonymous as they requested, but let's get into their journeys to financial independence. So we're going to start with lady number 1. So the first question I asked her was, how long did it take you to achieve financial independence? And she said, we didn't call it f.i.r.e, but I guess it started when I graduated in 2001 and started trying to clear my debts. It started properly with more of a plan for the long term around 2005. Our end date got moved a few times forward and back with 2 maternity leaves, changes in jobs that brought big pay rises, and as a result, some really good and really bad investment choices. We hit our number in 2019, but that year decided to move house and take on a renovation project. So the cost of this has extended it another 5 years. We're now looking to re-hit financial independence by 2024, 2025. And I just really loved this response. One thing I really like about this is she's touched on maternity leave and job changes. And I think these are really, really important aspects on your journey to financial independence, which will have an impact. And I thought this was just so useful to see her include this in her response, because as a woman who may decide to have children, if you do have kids, then maternity leave is something that you'll be taking after you give birth to your child. And so this, of course, has an impact on your career, which in turn can have an impact on your journey to financial independence. So I thought it was really good that she had mentioned this, and it shows that even though you're going to have big events in life which changes things, you are still able to achieve financial independence. So the second question I asked her was, how long have you been f.i.r.e? So she said, we hit f.i.r.e in 2019 and enjoyed it for about 6 months, lovely, but then we took on a renovation project and that reset the clock. So we're back on the accumulation phase again for now, which again is amazing. And it's really cool as well that she got to experience this 6 months of being financially independent, and then could make a decision that actually we want to do this, renovate a new house, and we can push it back by a few years. But having that freedom just to take 6 months of being financially independent is just incredible. My third question was, which areas of your life has impacted the most? She said, well-being for certain. Having the security of knowing that I'm doing my job through choice and not necessity was a game changer. We were both made redundant during COVID, and knowing that we had such a huge buffer and safety net to last us years was amazing, and our lifestyle was maintained without any job-related income. The impact this had on our stress levels was unbelievable when compared to years ago, when my other half was made redundant 3 months before I started maternity leave. The cushion that f.i.r.e has provided this time round is amazing. And again, just another fantastic response. I think, again, with this f.i.r.e movement, it's the ability to retire early if you wish, but it's also the ability to not retire early if you don't wish. And that's exactly what she's done. And I really like that she mentioned the well-being aspect, because working because you want to versus working because you need to pay the bills must just be a whole different mindset that I can't even imagine. But I think this is just a really good point to highlight the benefits of f.i.r.e. The fourth question I asked her was, is it what you envisioned it to be? She said yes and no. We've both now realised we don't really want to retire this early. We're 41 and 43. That is young. So we're happy to extend the FI journey by a few years to get our dream house. I'm lucky enough to love my job, so staying at work is not a chore. Post-FI redundancy has been a nice taster though, to help us design what our eventual FI life will look like. And again, that 6-month time that they took was a really good way to get a taster, and it's almost this concept of mini retirements. So I've heard people talk about taking mini retirements throughout their career and getting a taster of what it would be like, and just having that freedom and luxury earlier on in life instead of waiting until way down the line. So at 41 and 43, to be financially independent and have this freedom is just absolutely incredible. My fifth question was the best thing about FI. She said the peace of mind it brings. The root of so much worry can be traced back to financial worries or uncertainty. FI has meant a whole layer of stress is removed from the problems we faced in 2020. Just amazing. I then asked, worst thing about FI. She said, plugging the gap left by work. I love my career, so FI was never about leaving the job. My other half hates his very well paid job, but when he took a break from working, he found it lonely as others who have spare time during the day had nothing in common with him and were all either 20 years older or 25 years younger. He got lonely. And again, a really good point. So realistically, if you're reaching financial independence, I would say in your 30s or your 40s, you're probably not going to want to retire because, as she said, the people around you are probably still having to work, so it can get quite lonely. But again, it's just about that financial independence aspect of it more than it's about that retire early point. I then asked if she has any advice for people starting or on their FI journey. She said, enjoy the journey. Life is short and nothing is guaranteed. Be sensible with your savings, but don't save everything, as the habit will be so ingrained in you that by the time you hit FI, you won't be able to enjoy spending what you've accrued, as it goes against your nature. Really good point. Reward yourself along the way for hitting milestones and try to enjoy yourself along the way. Also remember, you should be working to retire to something rather than retire from something. What a powerful statement. So I hope you enjoyed lady number one. I think it's an incredible story to reach financial independence in your early 40s, then to make the decision to push it back a bit so that you can have your dream house is just all incredible, and it shows you the versatility and the variety of people who are on their journeys to financial independence. Now, for the second lady that I'm going to be sharing her story today, she didn't answer my specific questions in the same way that the other lady did, but she has given her advice, her tips, and her truthful perspective of her journey to FI and what she has learned. So the first thing that she shared is her journey. So she said she has saved all her life and she is currently 55 years old. Her first wage was £20 a week and her dad made her save £15 of it. She said she eventually used it to buy her first second-hand car outright, then began saving again for a deposit on her own house. She paid off her mortgage as soon as she could, and she now owns a small mews house that's beautiful, comfy and cozy. So that's incredible. She's 55. She's obviously been a saver since she was young because her dad taught her that, which really highlights the importance of teaching your children these habits from a young age. But it's great that she's paid off her mortgage. She owns her own home outright. So that's really, I would say, a key thing when it comes to financial independence, because housing costs generally tend to take up the most of our expenses. So not having that housing cost, not having that mortgage or rent to pay is definitely a big saver. Then she shared some advice for people on their journey. She said, when you first get your pay packet, be it your first part-time job at 15, start saving from that point. She said that in capital letters. Once you program your mind this way, it's set for the rest of your life. She also said, never get into debt. Don't buy a big house. She said that not having kids help, and that's actually a really important point to consider on your financial independence journey. She said if you want a family, it's going to be a lot harder to achieve, as you'll need a very well-paying job and marry a partner who's not a spendthrift. She also said it's important to have a partner who thinks the same as you, and I think this is also another really important point of financial independence, that if you're in a partnership or a marriage and one of you is striving for it and one of you isn't, I can definitely see how that can add some complexities to it and can probably slow down your journey to financial independence. She also said, which is a good point, divorce can ruin your financial plans. And that's a hard one to plan for because, you don't ever really marry to get divorced. But it is a realistic part of life that many people go through. So where she learned about financial independence, so she said she learned how to invest her savings from the f.i.r.e and the Motivator websites and Jim Collins from the US as late as 48. So it's never too late. And the three websites that she just mentioned, well, the f.i.r.e has a blog, Motivator has a blog, Mr. Money Mustache has a blog, and they're all really quite useful websites, especially when it comes to FIRE and the types of tips and tricks that you can do along the way. But she also mentioned Jim Collins, who has a book called The Simple Path to Wealth, which is a fantastic book. But the really key thing here is that she learned about this at 48 and she's now 55. So as she said, it really is never too late. Obviously, she probably had lots of savings already, but it was about getting those savings to work for her and invest them. So it's really great that she didn't allow her age to stop her from achieving her goals. So in her approach to FI, she says she still works part-time because she chooses to, because it's good for my mind. I don't have to work anymore. She put have in capital letters if I don't want to. So again, it goes back to the other lady where, it's not about having to work. It's all a choice. She says she personally thinks that work is good for you, and if you retire too early, it can be a mistake. But you do need to be in a rewarding career, so make sure you get yourself in a job you're happy with. That is sound advice. In terms of her life now that she's financially independent, she said, my financial life is and has always been safe and comfortable. I always have money for anything I want and I don't need silly stuff. She has lots of cruise holidays. She treats her sister to holidays in Spain. She's also been able to help out friends when they're in financial messes. She says she buys clothes, cars with only 5,000 miles on the clock, and she even pays for private surgery now as she can afford whatever she wants. And I think this just speaks to the idea of designing the life that you want once you reach financial independence. So for her, it's going on her cruise holidays, getting a decent car with low mileage, being able to help family and friends as needed, and even being able to pay for private surgery. And there may be other things that she doesn't spend so much money on, but she's designed the lifestyle that she wants. Now, for her words of wisdom, and this is a good one. So she said, some people say that life is too short. Enjoy yourself as you might not have that long to live. That's your gamble. Then she said, some people get happiness from spending all the time. That's an illness. What emotions are you hiding from by needing to buy tat? And I just thought this was so hilarious. And there's a good point to this. We've all heard of emotional spending. And if you have to spend to be happy, then yes, I agree, there's probably an underlying issue here. And so I thought it was really brutal and blunt, but it's actually a really good point. She says she rarely drinks or smokes. She doesn't need alcohol to make her happy. She saved a lot of money and her health is perfect. Now this is the funny part. She said, my boozy friends are in a mess now. Fatty liver, heart problems, red-faced, fat, heavily wrinkled and look terrible. And to add, no money. In debt and will have to work into their 60s and moan all the time. I just find this really funny and frank, but I really appreciate that she's just been herself in these responses. And from her personal experiences, she's around people who are, maybe not living a very healthy life, have a lot of debt and don't have any savings, and unfortunately have to keep working until they're in their mid-60s, but will also complain about the fact that they have to work. So I guess for her, she's taken life into her own hands so that she doesn't have to be one of those people. And her last words of wisdom were, "How you live your life is your choice. I'm happy with my choices. Will you be happy with yours at 50? Choose wisely." So, I hope you've enjoyed those 2 journeys to financial independence as much as I enjoyed reading them. I'm so thankful to the 2 ladies who have shared their stories with me, and I hope that it will give people encouragement and food for thought on their own journey to financial independence. Of course, as I said at the beginning, please write your comments down below. Let me know what you think of these ladies' stories, and I promise, as soon as I find more people to share their journeys to financial independence with me, I will also share them with you guys, because I think these videos are just the best. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video real soon.